Hey, what's up guys? I'm Dan, and today we are going to be doing our assembly video for our GHD. All right, so first we'll kind of just give you the rundown on everything that's going to come in your box. Your GHD is going to come in two boxes. One's going to have all the main frame pieces and hardware. The second box is just going to have our upholstery, so 4 rollers, 2 hip pads. So first we'll go off kind of each piece, make sure that we've got everything in our boxes. First one here is going to be the main base cross member. We're going to have our front upright here, our rear upright here. We're going to have our rear foot with the wheels, our front foot with the handles, our footstep cross member, our upper cross member there, our hip support, our distance adjuster, our height adjuster, and our rear foot plate, and guide rods. We've got our 2 packs of hardware here. I'll just kind of show you as we go along which bolts we're going to use for each step. And then the tools that we're going to need is going to be a size 17 socket and wrench is what I'm going to use. The ratchet, you can use a drill. Once again, I always recommend if you're using a drill, just be careful not to over tighten anything. Also going to need a size 5 Allen key and a size 14 socket. All right, so our first step, we're going to install both feet on our main cross member here. The rear foot's gonna have the upright in the rear already attached to it. So we'll come down here to our hardware. So bolts we're gonna need for this, we're gonna need these 2 M10 by 75s that kind of stand alone. We're gonna need 2 washers for each bolt. And 1 nut for each bolt. So one thing you want to pay attention to here, you'll notice this L-frame bracket here. This is going to be the front. So we'll have this be the front. We're installing the rear foot here. So the bolt's going to go all the way through all 3 of these pieces. First we want to put on our washer. Come through the back here. Gonna get our washer and nut. Boom. All right, now we'll come over here and grab our front foot. Bolt that we're gonna need here is gonna be 2 of these M10 by 70s. 2 washers again for each bolt. And 1 nut per bolt. Grab our foot. Get our main upright on top of the front foot. 1 bolt washer. Second washer. And nut. All right, now we got our base done here. We're gonna go ahead and move on to step 3. This is gonna be our front upright. Come down here to the hardware. And we're gonna grab the 2 carriage bolts here, M10 by 90s. By carriage bolt, I mean the bolts with the little square neck. Little square neck at the top there. And we're gonna get 1 washer for each bolt and 1 nut for each bolt. So these bolts are going to go in from the bottom and come up to the top. You can see here that it's a square hole. Same thing on the bottom. So that square neck is just going to fit right up in there. Take our upper cross member, and at this point you just want to be sure that you have this oriented correctly. You can tell that it angles down. We're going to want that angle to go towards the front of the machine. Do our washer first, then nut. All right, so now that we have our front upright on, we can go ahead and move on to our footstep here. Grab it and come down here. So this is where our big washers here are gonna come into play. So first we're gonna need 2 of the longer M10 by 90s, 2 of these, and 2 of our M10 by 70s. Those out. We're gonna need a small washer for each of those, so 4 of them, and then 4 big washers. And 4 nuts. All right, so we got our foot plate here. You'll notice on the foot plate that one side is longer than the other. We're gonna use the shorter side and face it towards the front of the machine. So first thing I'm gonna do is get all my bolts in place. So we got our shorter ones here, put a big washer on each. I'm just gonna go ahead and come back here and put them through the holes. And we have that big washer on the outside just to give a little more support to the metal. And we're gonna do the same for the front with our long bolts. Put the big washer on. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it through the hole so it's ready. Grab this guy here. We'll probably need to just kind of push out those bolts just a little bit so we can set this down in place. Pop them in. All right, we'll go ahead and put our nuts on. So first, small flat washer, then our nut. Boom. All right, now that we have our foot plate on, we can go ahead and install our top cross member, which is going to be this piece here. Hardware we're gonna need is going to be the same. So 2 of these longer bolts, the M10 by 90s, and 2 of our shorter M10 by 70s. We're gonna need 4 big washers, 4 small washers, and 4 nuts. And one thing I did also notice too is this bolt actually threads directly in on both sides. So we're just gonna eliminate 2 nuts and 2 of our flat washers, and we'll just keep those set aside for our next step. My bad. First step, take our long bolt here, get that big flat washer. We're gonna go top hole, and this is gonna be the one that threads directly in to the cross member. So go ahead and thread that. So we go second long bolt, big flat washer. We'll go to that second hole. And here we'll use our small flat washer and our nut. And we'll come to the back here. And use our small bolt, big flat washer. Get that one threaded in there. Small bolt again, flat washer, and our small flat washer and nut. All right, so now that we have our upper cross member installed, we can go to our distance adjuster here. And for this, we're gonna need also our guide rods. You'll notice that 4 bolts come pre-assembled in these guide rods, so just make sure you have those. Basically, this is gonna sit right up here. The guide rods are gonna come through the back side, come all the way into these holes here. Just pay attention to how you orient this. We're gonna use this blue, blue pop pin. We're gonna have that going towards the front of the machine. So set it up here. Guide rods. I've already loosened these. You might need to break them loose. It's going to be a size 17. Come through the back. We're going to go through each one of these bearings. Be kind of careful as you push them through. When you get your GHD, you might notice that these screws up at the top of each bearing are loose. They do that just to make it a little bit easier to slide in your guide rod. Once you get it in, you can go back and kind of tighten those up a little bit and just make sure it's running smooth. Take our bolt on the other end, put it in. We'll do the same with the other guide rod. Find the hole. Perfect. All right, we've got our distance adjuster on there. Now we can go ahead and slide on the height adjuster. Basically, this guy just comes on, make sure this little black knob is loose. Pull out the pop pin, slide it right on down. You want to just make sure that this piece here is facing towards the back because we'll later install our foot plate on it. All right, now we got our height adjuster on. We'll go ahead and move to the foot plate next. It's going to be this piece here. Come down to our hardware, and we're going to use these two short bolts, the M10 by 25s. We're going to use 4 flat washers and 2 nuts. So you just want to pay attention to where the handle is. We're going to have the handle facing towards the back. All right, so we'll come around the back here. We've got our bolt and flat washer. Put it through here, and then we'll go ahead and put our other flat washer and nut on it so it doesn't fall off. And we'll do the same with the bottom hole. Time out. Whoa, dude. You can't have a untied shoe in video. All right. All right, we got our foot plate installed. Now we can go ahead and move on to our hip support frame. It's gonna be this guy here with the 2 handles. Come down to our hardware. We're gonna have 2 long M10 by 90s. We're gonna use 2 of the big washers for those. 2 nuts. And 2 small flat washers. And we're also going to use this M10 by 70 shorter bolt and just 1 flat washer, or I'm sorry, and 1 large washer. All right, so we got our hip support here. First, we're going to use our smaller bolt with the 1 flat washer. Going to set it up on top here. Just make sure that all of these support pieces are on the top. Get her a small bolt, and it's just going to thread right into that front upright. And we'll grab our longer bolts. You can see that one side has the bracket here for support and the other side doesn't, so we're going to go ahead and put our big washer on this front side here. Small flat washer on the back with our nut. Same with the other bolt. All right, so at this point we have the frame pretty much built out. I'm going to go ahead and tighten everything up at this point now. You want to be sure to tighten it up now, just because some of these bolts up here, once we get the upholstery on, they're going to be a little harder to access. So we'll go ahead and tighten it. All right, we got her all tightened down now. We can move on to our upholstery. So we'll come down here to our hardware. First, we're going to do our 2 big hip pads. So we're going to need these bolts here. Each one of them is going to have their own washer. And we'll grab one here. All right, so we're gonna take our hip pad, place it on here. You'll notice there's a kind of a front and a back. Up here is gonna be the front. This little rounded part is going to be the back. Get it in the line. Come under here, we got our bolt washer. There's gonna be 4 bolts for each pad. You just wanna be careful at this step to make sure that you're threading it in correctly. If you start threading it in and it kind of feels like it's not going, maybe take it out and try to line it up again. Last thing you want to do is cross thread it. Once you have those on, you can go ahead and tighten those bolts down. It's going to be your size 14 wrench or socket that you're going to use for those. All right, we got our hip pads on. Now we can go ahead and move on to the leg rollers. This is going to be our final step. So come down here to the hardware and grab these big washers. Should be 4 of them, and our 4 bolts, small bolts. Grab our rollers. So one thing I do want to point out, you'll see how this is kind of shaky right now. This little black knob over here, just crank that down. That's going to make her nice and solid. Get each roller on. All right, we got our rollers on. We're going to take our big flat washer, put it right on here. Might need to squish in the pad a little bit. Might be easier if you use the tool. Also, this is going to be a size 5 Allen. Go ahead and tighten those on and repeat that step for the other 3. All right, and that completes it for our GHD. So I hope this video can help whoever might need it, and enjoy.